Okay, so lately, oh, by the way, I'm Sheea, Shafer, coming to you from Maui, Hawaii, and love, relationship, and Tantra coach, among other things like Feng Shui and nutrition and, gosh, spiritual reader and all that. um, I'm coming to you today because I've been talking a little bit lately about, just some of the things to be aware of as men and women when we're sexually relating to each other, because, we kind of do this a lot of times and we miss each other and misunderstand each other. And so I try to take it from all different angles and, approach it and verbalize it in different ways to get different people groups to register this concept. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it this way before yet, which is, I was talking the other day on a video about how big a deal it is for women to open their bodies and their hearts to have a sexual encounter. It's not something we honestly can rush into, even though many women do, because they're just probably wanting love from the dad that they never got it from, perhaps, or they don't have their boundaries in place quite yet and know how to pace things or honor themselves and their own timing. But one way to look at it, guys, because you guys are rigged a little bit differently, and this is a little bit tragic, but if you have been circumcised, a lot of times you've been traumatized sexually within days of your birth, and it's kind of a crime, I feel. And I don't really feel that was meant for the way things to be. And it, unfortunately, depending on how traumatic that was for you, it can create a rift between your heart and your sexuality when you've been circumcised as a baby, because it kind of breaks trust with those that you feel like you're safe with, and yet you're being put under the knife without anesthesia. And, in your sexual center, which is just barbaric, really. And a lot of times men will kind of have this disconnect between their genitals and their heart that needs to be reconnected, because it's really hard to satisfy a woman without that being connected, to be honest. And there's a certain distancing or disconnect that we feel when you're not connected, with your chakras, with your sexual center, with your heart. And I notice it allows men to kind of just look at sex as a little bit more as recreation or as no big deal, whereas women, it is a big deal. Our heart's always involved. I don't care how you pretend it's not. And as women, if we're receiving you into our bodies, that's coming into our sacred space. We can get pregnant, we can get an STD. There's a lot of risk involved, and half the time the women don't even get orgasm from the experience, which is really tragic too. So make sure you take care of her, guys. Preferably before you take care of yourself, because that shows that you know what you're doing and in the right order. And so anyway, I just want to bring awareness to that and invoke and activate the connection between your heart and your creative center with your genitals and your sexual center. And we might as well include your mind in that too, so everything is connected. It's important to have those in balance. And I invoke that for those of you who are not, who notice there is a disconnect there, because I notice, men seem to talk about sexuality more irreverently than women do, because we know what's at stake. And whereas men, because if they have a disconnect between their heart and their sexual center, it's kind of more of just a pleasure thing, and they're kind of able to compartmentalize, or trying to, or whatever. They're more able to do that when they've been circumcised, just to kind of leave their heart out of it or whatever. And it doesn't really work for women. It doesn't feel good. And anyway, it's just some awareness, and you can take it or leave it or do with it what you want, but it is important to know that that is going on. And so that's why I activate that connection with you, and you can certainly ask Spirit to heal that connection as well. Sometimes I even have to ask men, I can tell you're in your head and you're thinking a lot, and if you're like a geek or a nerd or techie guy or something like that, I love you. And sometimes you're in your head a lot, and I have friends like that, and I have to sometimes ask them to drop down into their heart, because otherwise I can't feel them. It's like I have a hard time connecting with them, because they're all up here and their whole rest of their body is like they're disconnected from. So it's really good to drop into your body when you notice you're getting that way, and try to drop into your heart, because when women need that. I'm a feeler, so if I can't feel somebody, then it's really hard for me to connect with them if they're all up here. So something to be aware of as well. So I hope that was helpful.